We'll go next to the third Saturday in October. The Tennessee Volunteers travel to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Line is about 9.5 in favor of the Tide. This game's 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. It's the 108th meeting of one of college football's most storied rivalries. Both teams enter the contest with identical 5-1 records. This is a high-stakes cushion game for the college football playoff. Loser still alive, but that ice gets thin. Winner, they have some wiggle room down the stretch in the latter half of the schedule. Look, Josh Heupel's been at Tennessee for 5 years. He's done an amazing job. And Kalen DeBoer, year number 2, you see the progress that's been made with this team as a whole. Look, Josh Heupel has really revitalized this team and their standing in the series. They've won 2 of the last 3. They also snapped Alabama's dominant 15-game winning streak that spanned from 2007 to 2021. Now, despite this recent resurgence, a significant hurdle remains for the Volunteers. They have not won in Tuscaloosa since 2003. That was a really memorable 5-overtime thriller. Great quarterback matchup in this one with Joey Aguilar, who's really comfortable operating this high-paced offense. He possesses arm talent. He also can throw the ball vertically. The one question with him is there has at times been a propensity for turnovers. He's got 5 picks through 6 games this year. He threw 24 picks over 2 seasons at Appalachian State. So he's got to be smart against a ball-hawking secondary for the Crimson Tide. Ty Simpson through 6 games has been remarkable and seems to get better and better and better as the season goes along. His completion percentage is now well over 70%. He's got a 16-1 touchdown interception ratio. That one interception was on a 4th and 1, basically a punt against Vanderbilt. And he has been among the nation's elite from a QBR standpoint. He's been really consistent, and he's thrown multiple touchdowns in every game this season. Couple injuries of note in this game. Running back Jam Miller, he's the team's leading rusher, suffered a concussion in the 4th quarter against Missouri. His status for Saturday is at this time a little questionable, and that could be big because he was the first Alabama running back to eclipse the 100-yard mark this season when they went for over 100 against Vandy. His absence would thrust backups Kevin Riley and Daniel Hill into a larger role and remove a key component of this offense. Another guy to keep an eye on is Ryan Williams. He clearly wasn't at 100% against Missouri, had an injury in the week's game prior to, and hopefully he can practice and kind of get back to 100%. But anything less than 100% from Ryan Williams does limit some of the possibilities for explosives from Alabama's passing attack. And then wide receiver Derek Meadows, he suffered a concussion against Missouri on a violent targeting play. And you also already have a couple wideouts that are down. So this is a position group that, while super talented, is a little bit thin at the moment, to keep an eye on those injuries. For Tennessee, they've been navigating some issues in the defensive backfield throughout the entire season. Jermod McCoy is an All-American, and he's still recovering from an ACL. It's unlikely that he'll be able to go at this point. And then Ricky Gibson, their other starting corner, he's been out as well. It's forced younger players, it's forced less experienced players into significant roles. And that is a bit of a vulnerability there on the perimeter when it comes to Tennessee's secondary. So they got to make sure that those guys play well against a really good wide receiver corps. Deshaun Bishop, their running back, also got a little banged up in the game against Arkansas last week. They've also been without their tight end, Ethan Davis, the last couple games, but hopefully he can be back in this one. Question number 1, can Ty Simpson continue his surgical precision? Look, since Ryan Grubb has arrived as the offensive coordinator, they have really put a premium on timing, rhythm, intelligent decision-making. They also put a ton on his plate in the pre-snap with adjustments and checks at the line of scrimmage. The interception total is not an accident, but it's a product of a system that values protecting the football and putting a lot on the quarterback's plate, and they've given him a little more as the season goes along because they're starting to build that trust between offensive coordinator and quarterback. Question 2, will Aguilar's aggression continue to pay dividends? Look, anyone that's watched Josh Heupel's offense, it's a scheme that is about tempo and running the football and creating vertical passing concepts. Look, this is an offense that is designed to create one-on-one matchups and generate explosive plays, which involves occasionally taking a few more chances down the field. And Aguilar, I think, has delivered on a lot of those promises coming into the season. He's been excellent for them. He's got to be excellent in this game as well because he's a ball-hawking secondary that can turn you over in a heartbeat. They had 2 picks last week, but it could have been 4 had they actually caught the football that was right in their hands. Question 3, how will Alabama's offensive line perform against a really good defensive line for Tennessee? Look, the offensive line's been a little up and down throughout the season. If you look at the game against Missouri, there were a few times in which Ty Simpson was getting hit or his drop back was being disrupted. The offensive rhythm was occasionally disrupted, and there were a few empty possessions because the offensive line couldn't hold up in protection. Now, the health of Jam Miller forces another critical question to Alabama's offensive identity. Without him, can Alabama establish that physical rushing attack that they need to kind of protect their quarterback and control the game? Now, their record in tough games this year is a bit mixed. They didn't run the ball very well against Florida State. They didn't run the ball for a ridiculous yard per carry average against Georgia. So they have to establish the run, and that's not just a preference, that's just what they need to be as they move forward. Now they're going against a Tennessee defensive front that has a lot of great athletic difference-making players that excel at creating negative plays. They're among the nation leader in sacks and tackles for loss. They have 12 different defensive linemen that have recorded at least 1 tackle for loss this season. They're second in the FBS with 26 sacks. Look, Tim Banks, their defensive coordinator, he is really good. He must decide, do you want to bring the extra pressure against a vulnerable offensive line? But at that point, you risk leaving your own secondary in possible one-on-ones against a really talented receiver group. So the outcome could be kind of a high-stakes dice roll that could very well determine the outcome of the game. Question 4, how effective will Tennessee be running the football? But Tennessee's ground game is central to their offensive philosophy. And I think Deshaun Bishop has a chance to become a star. He had a great performance last week against Arkansas, did get a little banged up, but here's hoping he'll be ready to roll. And this offense, they have a ton of success when they eclipse over 200 yards rushing. They've done it 200 yards rushing on the ground 34 times in his tenure. They are 32-2 when doing so. So reaching that benchmark will be a primary objective for the Volunteers offense. Question 5, can Alabama create a pass rush? Now, Alabama's defense front, they have really good players. LT Overton is an excellent player, but they'll be tasked with a very difficult challenge of trying to generate pressure without resorting to high-risk blitz packages that could leave their secondary on islands against really good wide receivers. Now, the line play is going to be interesting. Now, Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator, much like Tim Banks, will they gamble with blitzes against an offensive line that has been very good up to this point? This has been a bit of a fortress for Joey Aguilar at times. Against Arkansas, they did not surrender a single sack. That's the 3rd time this year in which their quarterback has been kept clean throughout an entire game. Question number 6, who will control the tempo of the game? These are 2 very different philosophies. Look, Josh Heupel, their tempo and is a primary strategic weapon. They want to operate at a blistering pace. They want to create confusion. They want to prevent substitutions. They want to exploit mismatches. Their ability to score is well documented. These opening drive scores, man, they just go right down the field. I think they're like 2.5 minutes or less every single time. And Alabama's defensive discipline, communication, conditioning, it's going to be under relentless assault from the opening whistle. Now, the most effective defense against Tennessee's offense may, in fact, be Alabama's own offense. In their win against Missouri, for example, they held the ball for over 38 minutes. If you look at their ball control against Vanderbilt and other teams this year, this is an offense that wants to control the ball, that wants to have long, methodical drives, because it not only helps in scoring points, it also keeps explosive playmakers from the other team on the sideline, neutralizing what might be a real strength. I will not call this game or make a pick on this game. I'll be in the booth alongside Sean McDonough with Molly McGrath on the call for ABC.